It takes a certain kind of ambition to do what farmers do. Between the hours and the hard labor to the public scrutiny and bureaucratic maze running, it's not an easy task. While the agricultural industry feeds millions, quietly tilling and producing behind the scenes, many forget that our food comes from the hands of real people with real stories. Join us as we share stories from those with boots on the ground and unearth unique perspectives on agriculture's biggest conversations. It's time to grab your shovel and get to work. I'm Don Schaefer, and this is Digging In with UFA. Canadian farmers are navigating significant uncertainty, from market volatility and trade pressures to a changing environmental landscape. Supporting the agriculture sector during this period requires practical, science-based solutions that reflect realities on the ground. On the prairies, one of the most immediate challenges has been a surge in Richardson Ground Squirrel populations, causing multi-million-dollar damages to crops, pasture, and farmland. In response, the Government of Canada has authorized a tightly controlled, time-limited emergency registration of strychnine for use in Alberta and Saskatchewan through November 2027. This decision sits with the Pest Management Regulatory Agency, or PMRA, the federal body responsible for evaluating and regulating crop protection products to protect human and environmental health, while ensuring farmers have access to effective tools. The emergency approval follows a revised joint request from both provinces and includes added restrictions, mitigation measures, and enhanced stewardship requirements. But for farmers, temporary approvals also raise bigger questions about long-term certainty. Today, we're digging into what this decision means on the ground, why gopher pressure has become such a serious threat, how emergency tools fit into Canada's regulatory system, and why organizations like the UFA Cooperative continue to advocate for science-based decisions and regulatory clarity beyond 2027 to support farmers, food security, and the Canadian economy. When we're talking about who's affected most by restrictive legislative practices in agriculture, we're talking about those with boots on the ground. The ranchers and producers who spend their days on those vast acres from sunup to sundown. It's fair to say that a family with generations on the land knows a thing or two about how to take care of that land. For a little insight on exactly what's going on with the gopher situation, this is Wade Nelson. He and his wife are owner-operators of Highwood Valley Ranch, just south of Calgary. They tend to about 1,500 acres of grain, 700 acres of grass, and a little direct market beef in a mixed farm operation.
It's a cyclical problem that comes and goes. I think it goes with the climate at the time. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid in the 80s, it being a real problem when it was really dry, and then it kind of dissipates. But I mean, in the last few years, it's been really bad. And that just unfortunately coincided with the PMRA taking away our access to strychnine. So it took a really major tool away from us. It's not something, at least on our farm, that we would use every year or even on every field every year. But it was something we had in these dry years that we know was effective and could really solve the problem quickly. And it's been quite bad here with our drought up until hopefully the last few springs here. And even last spring, at the beginning, we were D3. We were no discernible moisture for 3 feet. And I think that gives the gopher population a real opportunity to explode. And a few years ago, I lost 170 acres of canola. It was seeded, and then it never even germinated. I actually phoned another farmer and said, "This stuff isn't germinating. Like, what's going on?" And we started digging and couldn't find any seed. And I mean, misery loves company, because then when I get AFSC out to check it and insure it, and I think I'm the only guy around, he said, "Oh no, you're the 5th guy this week that we've had to do some sort of insurance claim on." That's when I was like, this is bad, and we got to get after this. And then it was that year that we lost strychnine. So it was really no way to attack that problem. Like I say, it's a cyclical problem, but having that access to strychnine is so important before we get to this bad of a problem.
The AFSC stands for Agriculture Financial Services Corporation, and it's an Alberta-based company that works with farmers and agribusinesses to provide risk management plans and insurance for livestock prices and farm income stabilization. Though it's important to recognize potential long-term dangers within the agricultural sector, it's also important to understand that farmers can responsibly use and maintain a product like strychnine as they've done for many years.
We always, it's like any chemical or any pesticide on anyone's operation. We treated it with a lot of respect. It's a dangerous product. And so it was always something that from when I was a little kid, you did not muck around with. And as far as how it's been the last quite a few years, our access to it, it's not like we can run down to UFA and buy a can of strychnine. We have to go through the county. The county has access. They're the only ones that have access to 2%. And then you needed to fill out a form that proved that it was necessary, that you were a landowner, and follow the rules on how to actually use the product, and which we've done. We've done that because we know it actually helps make it more effective. If you're putting that poison down the hole, covering that hole, and moving on, you're doing that correctly. That's the safest way to handle that product and get it down to that gopher, and limits the chance of that grain getting into a hawk or an eagle or another bird picking it up. It's down that hole, and because it's so effective, that gopher never has a chance to come back up again. So we have used it to the best standards that we can. And I would say, we have an inordinate amount of birds of prey around us. We're right in the Highwood Valley. It's not uncommon for me to see 25 to 30 eagles in a day. We kind of stretch for about 2.5 miles along the Highwood River Valley. I've never seen a dead bird out in the field that I could attribute to some sort of poison. I've seen dead birds below power poles quite often, but never something that you could attribute to that. So yeah, we've been trying to use it as safely. And when we don't need to use it, we don't use it. It's not like we're out there no matter what.
In an attempt to curb the use of strychnine across Canada, assumptions are made about how effective other similar products are during heavily destructive periods like the one we're seeing today. But when the ground squirrel problem is as difficult as it's become, it's tough to bet on anything other than the product that's proven successful, especially when the stakes are high and it's not just your crops being damaged.
We had some success with that zinc phosphide. I think it's all in when you use the product. Seems like it's not as attractive. And I've had guys tell me that it doesn't work. The Rosol is another product. And I had one quarter section that I rent that the retired owner is a fanatic. He, on his own dime, spent a lot of money and bought a lot of Rosol. And I think it did have an effect, but it was every other day a full-time job for him to be doing that, filling bait stations on less than a quarter section of land. It wasn't something that I could take the time to do, especially not on say, my whole operation. So there has been some limited success, and I've seen a bit of data come out that Rosol is by far the most expensive and least effective. And phostoxin or zinc phosphide does work, but it's nothing compared to strychnine. Again, I think that's why we need access to this product as long as we're using it safely. We have a more unique gopher issue because we do have cattle. We do grow quite a bit of hay as well. And so we have pasture, and then we have farmland and pasture. And that's where those gophers can really populate, is in those pasture areas. But as far as my example of what happened to me, where I had canola gone before it even had a chance to germinate, that was a huge expense. That cost a lot of money, not only in my input, but then in my opportunity cost that I lost there as well. But anyone running a combine is going to tell you that they're not a fan of running over gopher holes, and it does wear and tear. And these guys now, and we don't do our own combining, we get it custom done. When you're running a 30-foot header, flex header, that's $250,000 machine. Just that header alone, if you're going to strike rocks or eat a rock because gophers have brought that up, that's a huge cost. As far as animals, I remember a friend, we went for a ride in the hills and we loped across an open pasture area. And this kid said, geez, I've never done that before. And I said, well, why? He said, well, at home we can't run our horses because there's too many gopher holes. And they run the risk of breaking a leg. And it can happen, and it has happened, for sure.
Between the generations of experience on the land and the ability to enact change on a municipal level, it takes time, heart, and a good deal of grit to be so involved. With that involvement comes the ability to make systemic change in your community. When you come from such a connected network, you know firsthand what needs to get done and what needs to change. To show us how, this is Jason Schneider.
I wear a few different hats and depending on the day, but I'm owner-operator of a fourth-generation grain farm here in Vulcan County. Myself and my wife are the owners. I'm fourth generation. She's sixth generation agriculture here in the province, so definitely have some deep roots when it comes to farming. I don't really like free time, apparently, because I also sit on Vulcan County Council. I've done that since 2013, and I've been the Reeve since 2016 here. So I definitely keep busy with that. And then once again, I'm a sucker for punishment, so I also do sit on the Rural Municipalities of Alberta Board as the vice president, and that's the association of all 69 rural and specialized municipalities in the province. So it's a unique perspective that I end up getting. Just being an agriculture producer, I get to see it at the local level here at Vulcan County, and then also at a provincial level up with the RMA. So it definitely keeps me busy and keeps me out of trouble, but it's been a rewarding experience so far. I don't like free time. It's these busy times of the season when you're trying to seed or harvest, or all those busy times on the farm where I'm running off to meetings or taking calls on the tractor, but it's all good.
For farmers and ranchers, gophers can be a big problem. Between root destruction, soil stability, and livestock health, it's an issue that runs rampant across municipalities and provinces, especially without an effective tool for mitigation.
Yeah, so obviously, as a municipality, we run the Agriculture Services Board on behalf of the province, so we get to go out and make sure that everything's running smoothly when it comes to agriculture, making sure, that the Weed Protection Act's being followed and all of that. So, we hear from our farmers and the ranchers quite regularly on the strychnine issue, and obviously, we also, on the last go-round with strychnine, the municipalities through the Agriculture Services Boards were the ones that were able to actually procure the strychnine and then make sure that ranchers and farmers were using it responsibly, and making sure that we weren't going to get ourselves into any issues with it, and then making sure that everybody was educated and knowing kind of what the product is and what the product isn't. So we've been pretty involved with that, and as soon as those stockpiles disappeared and we weren't able to procure anymore, we heard it pretty loud and clear from our producers in Vulcan County that this was a tool in their toolbox that they really needed. There really wasn't anything that we could find that was actually as efficient. I mean, there's other products that if you get the timing right, or if you have the time, you can use them, but we've tried everything. Our Agriculture Services Boards have tried all sorts of contraptions and inventions to try to do this, but we really have not found anything that works in real life and works in the real scenarios that our farmers are facing, like strychnine has. From an infrastructure perspective, it's not as dramatic as it is to the agriculture producers. We definitely see them migrating into the ditches and, burrowing under roads and, causing minor damage like that. But it's more from the agriculture side, where we just see when you represent a big area. I mean, Vulcan County is, 1.3 million acres. So it's a big area. When you start to see, some of these hot spots where gophers have just got completely out of control, it really kind of gives you that perspective of just how big it is. I think based on our agriculture fieldmen going out there and just doing surveys to try to, quantify how big this issue is, we figured in 2024, we were at least about 15,000 acres that was lost in the county due to gopher infestations, which that's a big number. And we're one of 69 municipalities. So when you start to extrapolate that data, it is a big issue.
The national ban on strychnine has left producers on temporary measures, even during brief reinstatements. But these stopgap solutions are just that, a short-term fix and a long-term problem. Without proper pest control, the issue compounds year after year, growing more severe the longer it's only partially addressed. Relying on temporary fixes may slow the impact, but it doesn't solve the problem. And over time, it pushes us closer to a point where the situation becomes unsustainable.
Well, this issue doesn't go away. Every year that you don't address it, they just come back worse every single year. I'd say it's one of those rodents that they multiply pretty quickly. And, when you have a couple dry years in a row, you really start to see that snowballing effect. And it hasn't been really great for agriculture in southern Alberta here in the last 10 years. I mean, we've had a lot of years of pretty good drought situations where that's where we really see this problem getting bigger and bigger. And, the first dry year, you see them around and, you can kind of try to keep on top of them. But it's usually after a couple of years of drought in a row that you really start to see these widespread areas where guys are losing 40, 50, 60 acres in one area just because they've got so out of control. we go and talk with all the other municipalities and we hear from them, and we're all kind of in the same boat where it's really just the amount of acres that their agriculture producers are losing and, the cost associated with that. When you start to go look at just Alberta alone, those numbers get big. I mean, if you calculate out your 15,000 acres, especially, I mean, we do have a fair amount of irrigation, our acres under irrigation in the county as well. I mean, when you figure out, your loss of production, your cost of inputs and all of those things, I mean, our municipality alone is well over $7 million is what we would estimate our losses to be. You times that by 69, every municipality might be, have two different amounts, but I mean, that number gets really big. And then you go across the border to Saskatchewan, and I mean, it's a big issue there as well. And so when you really start to think about the economic impacts of this issue, it's substantial, and it's a tough one to quantify because every year is a little bit different. But I think probably what really started to make that impact is when all these municipalities were coming up with numbers and trying to get the data. When you start to see across Western Canada, it's a very, very big economic impact that we're seeing as a result of losing a tool like Strychnine.
In November of 2027, the temporary legalization of strychnine will end, and folks on the farm will have to attempt previously unreliable methods, going back to the best that's available, even when the best is proven inadequate. Though farmers and ranchers are at their core resilient and adaptable, resiliency can only get you so far if you're not allowed to use the correct tools.
Strychnine's something, I mean, I don't know, Jason, we've been using it for 100 years? Right? So it's a product that we know that works. So then when we're throwing something, well, you can't do that anymore, and there's really no alternative. We think there might be a few of these different products. It just makes people upset because we've kind of got a system in place that we know works. When you throw a curveball at us like that, it's just totally unnecessary. And there really was no offer of, we found this new thing out, why don't you use this? I mean, people have been. I mean, we bought a Rodinator. I don't know, Jason, did you ever try one of those Rodinators out?
Yeah, there was definitely a few of them popped up in the county. We've tried all the machines like, the ones that use the mustard foam, and it's just time consuming.
That's right. So this is something that we know that works. But I mean, that Rodinator is a scary tool, basically making a bomb in the earth, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think farmers are so resilient that if there was another product that was working, farmers would be moving to that product very quickly, because anything that can give you better control of gophers, people would be jumping all over it. And usually, I think that was one of the things that was really frustrating, was that narrative coming back from the federal government and even the provincial government at times. It's like, well, there's other products, so just use those. And it's like, well, you're not the one that has to use these products. And believe me, we've tried everything. And really, when you have that one tool that is just so much more effective and you have a way wider window of application and you get it taken away, it's a big shock to people. And I think that, probably a lot of the data also showed, after that first year of banning strychnine, we didn't see the big issues. But now that we're 3, 4, or 5 years down the road, that's when we really started to see a compounding impact. And really, in order to kind of get caught back up again and actually get some of these spots under control, really the only tool that is effective enough is strychnine. So I was definitely pretty happy to see that it came back. I mean, I feel like I've talked about strychnine my entire time on council. It's like we had it, but we were getting threatened to take it away, and then it was taken away, and so then we're trying to get it back, and it was just like, yeah, boy, this has been a long road trying to get it back. And it's like, well, what do you guys know? And it's like, because I've lost canola to growers, like I'm not just making this stuff up. Let's get in the truck and go look at it. When the decision makers are sitting at a desk in Ottawa, you just can't comprehend it. But when you actually, drive out into that field and you just see how bad it is, that's when you start to really get a perspective of why farmers are talking about it, why farmers aren't letting up on this, because we just have not been able to find that replacement. And I would say this time around, it was kind of surprising it came back. I mean, it seemed to be at every indication. I mean, I made a trip out to Ottawa to go talk about strychnine, and everybody agreed with us that gophers were a problem, but nobody really wanted to actually be the one to push something forward. So it was a little bit unexpected that we actually got this emergency approval. Now it's not permanent by any means. I believe it runs out at the end of next year, at the end of 2027. And once again, just showing that maybe the decision makers are a little bit out of touch with what's going on the ground. It sounds like by the time we actually get it into the hands of municipalities, it's going to be June, which if anybody's ever had to go try to take care of gophers, June is not the time to do it. It's right now. It's April and the first couple weeks of May. And if you're not applying it and you're not actually doing it, then you're lost. Because once the crop's out of the ground, they're going to eat those small plants. And so unfortunately, it seems like this year it's going to be a little bit of a loss, but at least for next year, we can at least try to get caught up, and hopefully common sense prevails and the decision makers extend that going forward.
Well, and I don't think there was any real watershed moment that made them make strychnine illegal. Like, it wasn't like something dramatic, terrible happened where a herd of horses or something died. Like, it was just, strychnine's illegal again. And you're like, well, why? Well, because it's a poison and it's bad. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, we know it's a pesticide. Of course it's dangerous. And even I've seen some of the pushback is like, well, it's going to kill birds. Well, I don't know of any hard data that shows, or even vet clinics that say, yeah, if you're using strychnine in our area, we see X amount more animals coming in, pets or something. Like, I haven't seen any of that other than for people to have this kind of emotional reaction saying, strychnine's dangerous, it's poisonous, we shouldn't use it, period. And that's just not... For us, like you say, Jason, for us on the ground that have seen the effects, it's like, no, we need this product to manage this problem.
Yeah, it's really been an emotional and a political discussion as opposed to a practical discussion. And that's the frustrating thing is it's not a lot of the decisions really based on science or based on actual use. It was all, it's a poison. You can't be poisoning rodents. But on the ground, I mean, believe me, hey, if I don't have to use strychnine, that's a pretty good year. Like, I don't want to be using it either, but it is really the only option to actually, get these issues under control.
Yeah.
When it comes to bureaucracy, sweeping generalizations and restrictions can sound like decision-making based on a general lack of trust. Of course, with the improper handling of dangerous chemicals like strychnine, there's always a chance of worst-case scenario, just like with the dangers of agricultural heavy machinery or dealing with high-voltage electrical technology. There are risks that are understood and carefully prepared for every single day. Instead of a broad-stroke decision-making process, what if we added some nuance? We understand that with the right set of guidelines in place, capable farmers and ranchers can safely and effectively do the jobs they've done for decades.
I think it's just another one of these issues where I think the decision makers are pretty disconnected from what actually is happening in agriculture. And I think they were sold a bill of goods of, well, there's other options. So, I mean, like, farmers will be fine. There's other options. And you could have figured that one out pretty quick if you picked up the phone and talked to a few farmers, because I'll try anything when it comes to agriculture. Like, I'm willing to try it. Like, if there's a new product, let's give her a shot. But it's just that disconnect between agriculture and decision makers. And I mean, it's bad at the province. It's even worse at the federal level. And so it really was an emotional thing as opposed to a scientific. And that was the frustrating thing is we've been trying to educate people for years and years. And like I said, I went out to Ottawa and I sat with people and I told them how bad it was, but it's really hard to comprehend that when you're not actually actively in agriculture. You just kind of figure, okay, well, it is what it is. We'll find a different product. Don't worry. But, the reality was there just wasn't anything coming down the pipe. I think it's really just that these are dangerous products, right? I mean, it is a poison. Nobody's debating that fact. I mean, it's the same thing when we talk about herbicide use. I think it's that, it's this big scary thing and that people just don't realize, that farmers are pretty careful with all of this stuff because, I mean, this is land. If you screw it up, you're in trouble, right? So, I mean, I just don't think that people realize just how much farmers are invested in the land and they want to make sure that they're making the best decisions. They're not overusing products. We all understand that if you use something too much, efficacy goes down, right? It doesn't work as well if you keep using it over and over and over again. And I think that's just where, when you're not in agriculture, you just don't understand that farmers are trying to make the best decisions and they're trying to do what's best for the land because, they're going to have it for generations, right? This isn't just a quick decision, try to make as much money all at once. It's, we're looking down the road. And so that's where I just think we just have a huge disconnect between, that urban and rural population.
I think we as farmers in agriculture, we have an enormous amount of equity with the community and with kind of your common average person. And I think on the whole, if this kind of conversation was presented to someone on the street, say, this is what farmers want, we need this product, we're going to use it safely, they go, okay, fine. I think it's organizations like PMRA or these bureaucratic entities that they want to try and control things. And so it's just on the list. So it came down the pipe. Okay, next up, strychnine, let's make it illegal. They don't have to think about the repercussions of what taking that product away is going to be. That's not in their operating procedures. It's like, this is dangerous. It's hard to get. We just are going to make it illegal. So it doesn't have any effect. The effect that it has on us has no effect on them. So that's the disconnect. And we need to find some way to create some accountability in these entities that I don't think they have any real there's a real disconnect. And it's not really their fault. It's just that that's not one of the things, the lenses that they have to look through when they're making decisions is how is this going to affect the end user? They don't even have to really come up with any sort of explanation other than to say it's illegal now, find something else. And so that's a real problem. But I think the average consumer, the average Albertan, Canadian, they understand enough to know that they don't understand the kind of work that we do and the pressures that we have. And they go, yeah, if you need this product or you need this, then that's fine. It's these entities that, shut us down without any real connection to us or any stakeholder. They don't come and talk to us first, right?
If gophers continue to damage large areas of farmland and limit crop growth on a massive scale, the impacts will be felt for years to come. From the resilience of rural communities to broader food security, the issue has lasting consequences and ultimately affects consumers.
Well, I think the numbers speak for itself when it comes to, agriculture loss of production, right? I mean, these all add up, right? It's thousands of acres, it's hundreds of thousands of acres across the western provinces that are lost because we have no way to control these rodents. And so, yeah, I mean, it's part of the picture, right? I mean, are we going to notice it today or tomorrow? Probably not. But I mean, down the road, the fact that you have hundreds of thousands of acres that aren't being produced because of an infestation of rodents, I mean, that's a pretty serious thing. So there's food impacts, there's economic impacts. It's a much bigger issue, and it's not across the whole country. I mean, I'm sure Eastern Canada they're not seeing the same infestations as we are, but the numbers get big real quick when you start to go across all of Western Canada and all the acres that are in agricultural production right now.
Yeah, and I think it just shows too that, when these organizations, these government organizations like PMRA can kind of arbitrarily make these decisions and in an instant say, nope, no more, it's illegal now. What could they do with other products that we use in agriculture all the time and what that could do to our food security? It's a real problem. I think there needs to be some change to how the decision making is made, or at least transparency in what they're doing and why they've made these decisions. Because if they did that with another product, we could be in a lot of trouble.
I think it's just really, that it does have real impacts on farmers. I mean, the cost that we incur because of this is significant, and it's coming out of our pockets, right? I mean, nothing's got cheaper. I mean, canola seed isn't cheaper than it was 10 years ago. Fuel isn't cheaper. I mean, all of these costs are just going through the roof. And I mean, farmers are trying to put food on their table. They're trying to keep these operations going for another generation. I think it's just when they don't have any skin in the game, I think it's really easy to make these decisions without the right information or without any consequence. But it's the guys on the grounds that are feeling the consequence because of it. And I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but it's what problem are you trying to solve here? I mean, and that was really a frustrating thing is, there was really never that good explanation of, well, we had to do this because of this. As far as municipalities go, I mean, if there's an issue, if it is being misused, we can be partners in this, right? We have resources. We can actually help you if there is a problem to be solved, but it was all anecdotal. Like it was like, oh, well, it could poison birds. Well, okay, but has it? Like let's see some data on this. Let's actually have a real conversation as opposed to the what ifs, because I mean, it's just too valuable of a thing, and we really needed to be at the table. You needed the boots on the ground experience when they were actually having these, and not just bureaucrats that don't have no skin in the game.
Yeah, I think I would say similar to what Jason said, is say, let us help you. You think this is a real bad product. I think we understand we don't have any hard data. Just as we're saying they don't have any hard data that there's an increase in pet deaths or birds or whatever. Let's try to find that data. Let's figure out how effective this product really is versus zinc phosphide or a Rosol or another product. And let's create some data here. And I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe Jason and I we've had 100 years of anecdotal evidence that is, doesn't correlate out to the rest of the provinces. But let's work together in making these decisions so that we can create that data, make it more robust. And like you say, they need to understand what we're going through here and that we need every tool we can find. And there is no incentive or reason for us to mistreat this product or any dangerous good product, pesticide, chemical, anything. Why would we want to do that for ourselves? Most of us that live on farms, if we don't have mixed farm operations, we all have dogs and cats and horses around too. Why would we want to mistreat this product and potentially harm something of ours that is either a pet or a hobby for us or an actual another part of our income and our operation?
I mean, I think on an issue like this, I think it's, if you're concerned about a product, I mean, if you have views on strychnine that it shouldn't be there, go talk to an agriculture producer. And like I said, go get in the truck and go see what it's actually impacting or how it's actually impacting producers. And I think really it's an eye opener when you can actually see those impacts firsthand, as opposed to just reading about it in the newspaper or reading about it on Facebook that this is a terrible product and we have to get rid of it. I think if you actually go and talk to somebody who it's impacting their bottom line, I think you probably gain a very different perspective on just why we have to use it. It's not that we want to be using it. We would love to not be talking about gophers, but it's one of those things that we really need to do in order to keep our land productive and to keep doing what we're doing, as well as to feed our families. So it's really just on decisions like this, talk to the people who actually have that boots on the ground knowledge, and maybe not believing everything that you see on Facebook.
Yeah, I think I would echo Jason for sure. I mean, I'd just like to acknowledge all the work that Jason and the Ag Service Boards have done. I think that this was an example of on the ground how these counties, these municipalities, how they work. They all have Ag Service Boards. We're all either mixture of farmer representatives and councillors. And we had some real knowledge about this, and that we got together and pushed this all the way up to Edmonton and then straight across to Ottawa, shows that these systems can work and that we can affect change. And I think that those boards are so important, and the work that Jason does with these counties representing Vulcan is really important, and we need to continue to do that. And for listeners out there that are, like you say, asking questions, you can get involved and you can join some of these organizations, some of these boards and committees that are doing really on the ground hard work to push these things forward. And hopefully we're going to get some more hard data. Maybe we can make some changes to AFSC and their insurance program, and that we can find an actual direct gopher distinction, so that when we do come with a claim because of a gopher problem, we can actually plot that, and AFSC can start actually generating some hard data on what this is actually costing. Not only us, but if we're making an insurance claim, that's AFSC is generally who we're insured through. That's a provincially run operation, and that's a taxpayer who ultimately is funding that product. It's important for us all to be aware of these issues and see that they have an impact.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting us on. It's good to get the word out. And hopefully there's some people watching this that maybe we've changed their mind. Hopefully we've made a good argument that strychnine isn't as scary as maybe, like I said, you read on Facebook.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. That was great.
At the end of the day, we look to our resiliency within ourselves and our communities to make our collective futures as bright as possible. All it will take is conversations like these, some vulnerability, and a little digging. Thanks to the support of UFA Cooperative, we're able to share stories from those who live and breathe agriculture. Thanks to Wade and Jason for giving us insight into this large problem and the larger impacts of restrictive legislation. For more information on today's episode, please visit UFA.com. With listeners like you, we'll continue to dig a little deeper here on Digging In with UFA. I'm Don Schaefer. Thanks for listening. Another Everything Podcast production. Visit everythingpodcast.com, a division of Pattison Media. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.